Okay, this is Banov, and we're doing even more developer commentary. Ta-da! So now we've gone to the end of one little puzzle segment in this dungeon, and we're fighting Jean, the fire master person. Now, like I said with the fight with Bradley, a lot of the goal for this dungeon was basically to spend time building up the reputation of the final boss, because I hadn't really introduced him prior to this, and he was basically like a noob. So I wanted there to be a little something to just sort of remind you, like, hey, the final boss is crazy and you should be excited to fight him. So in come these 3 Navy Admirals you have to go through, each one who gives important backstory and sort of just reminds you that you're about to have a crazy boss fight. Subtly. Fun fact is that each of the Navy Admirals is actually based on a teacher of mine I had in high school. The reason being that, the Navy sort of, I mentioned this also when I was talking about the reflective foliage, but the Navy sort of represents, like, obsessive control, just really weird, those kinds of people who just, have to be in control of things. And there were a couple teachers I've had, particularly in high school, who I guess really were symbolic of that to me. And so, as a little, like, FU to them, I made them villains in my game. Juvenile, but I don't know, it was pretty fun to people who knew them. So this is based on a science teacher I had. Very infamous throughout the high school that I went to. And of course, all these bosses are fairly straightforward and easy to fight. Not much HP. They're all just mini bosses, basically. I don't want to say filler, but just sort of, not filler, but just, sort of, yeah, I already explained what their point is. They're not filler. And there's these statues that teleport you to the beginning of the room. Okay, next one. Alright, so remember these breakable blocks, right? Well, I made a maze of them. And to make it even more crazy, I made them spyglass visible only. And originally, it was that, you'd find them with the spyglass and then you would see it with cracks, but I decided that was a little too, I wanted to add another layer of complication to it. So I made it so that they flash briefly when you put the spyglass over them, but they don't, like, you have to sort of remember which ones are the breakable ones. Why did I do that? Because I'm an evil game designer, and I just want to make things more complicated. There was just sort of a point where I realized, like, hey, this is the final dungeon. So I had to, like, sort of pull out all the stops and make the puzzles as, like, layered as I could think. Or not, like, as layered as I could think of them, but, a step up from what you'd be used to. Of course, I remember where all of the little blocks are. Nice little row there. And of course now, in case you haven't noticed, everyone's getting their final magic attacks now. Maelstrom, Maelstrom, Avalanche, Lightning, Inferno. And once you get those, these fights become really, like, pointless. I mean, it's like you just pick the one good move and these guys all drop like flies. Which, it wasn't intentional when I was putting them in, but looking back, I think it works out. It's a sort of, boost your self-confidence, lets you know, hey, you have got some really powerful moves now. I think it does sort of make a cool distinction when like you're fighting the Navy guys without your moves and they're much harder, and then you get the powerful moves and they're like you just brush them off. I think it sort of points out the fact that when you're in the Navy headquarters. These guys aren't exactly, like, pushovers, they're not weak. You are just getting really powerful. Okie dokie. Doop 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 doop. Okay, here we go. Next, Navy Admiral. Now, Jean and Thompson are based on the appearance of the teachers who, like, I sort of named them after. But this guy, Admiral Steele, is not at all, at least in terms of appearance, he's not really based on the teacher at all. Basically just because I wanted to have him look like this. I just felt like it. And no one could stop me, because I was the only one making this game. Nah. This is Admiral Steele, the Ice Blade. And yes, he has a blade and uses ice. That's how you know he's the Ice Blade. In case you didn't notice, but I'm sure you did, each of the three admirals is sort of a master of a different element. And it's really, these are the last fights in the game where, like, you really have an element to deal with weaknesses and strengths. So, I thought it was important to sort of work that into the final dungeon, right? So this is how I did it, through these mini-boss fights. Kinda lame that it never shows up again, but it doesn't. Oh no, monkey! Ricky. Quickly, someone get him a doctor. Or a bottle of rum. Alright, this fight has gone on for far too long. And yet it goes still. Okay. Down goes the second admiral. Anarchy. Oh, right, and another thing that's important is that, I wanted it to be clear that there are more members of the Navy than just, like, Bradley and his couple of goons. So, the Navy admirals were, if you're going to destroy the Navy, you have to have some, underlings to go through, too. So that by the time you get to the leader and kill him, you sort of get a feeling of, yes, I've really actually wrecked the entire hierarchy of the Navy. Go me. Okay, running low on time again. So we'll tackle this room, the last admiral, and maybe some other stuff next episode. Oh boy.